Hello everybody, this is TechHut. It is here. We are taking a look at Fedora 35. It was released just yesterday, and it was one of the ones that or at least I, was incredibly looking forward to, primarily because I love Fedora, and because I'm going to be using this to benchmark against Windows 11, so that is going to be fun. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss that video. A lot of people who watch these videos are not subscribed, so do make sure you subscribe. First, we're going to run through this Welcome to Fedora 35 welcome dialog here. We're going to go into an article and check out some of the new features with the announcement. And the main thing that's different that you're going to notice, at least, is GNOME 41. And we're going to be going into some of the changes and improvements with that. So first of all, let's go ahead and start the setup. I ran through the basic installation process of Fedora 35. It hasn't really changed. The installer isn't the best in the world, but it does the trick. So for this, I'm going to keep location services and automatic reporting on. Go next. Let's go ahead and enable these third-party repositories. Here we could go ahead and connect an online account, which I usually connect Nextcloud. Not going to right now. This is just a virtual machine. Let's fill this out and go next. Create a password and then go next. And we are all done. Let's go ahead and start using Fedora. Now it should give us the welcome to GNOME, which it does. Let's go ahead and take a tour of GNOME 41. Start the tour, let's check it out. So press the super key or the Windows key to get an overview. In that we can just type to search things. A lot of this is typical GNOME stuff. We have absolutely magnificent multi-touch gesture support. So let's skip through that. That's it. Have a nice day. So this is Fedora. What I'm going to do is go ahead and open up that article, that release announcement article. Here it is. We're on Fedora magazine and it's worth the wait. Fedora Linux 35 is here. And here it outlines some of the primary changes, and the main thing obviously is the addition of GNOME 41. And with GNOME 41, you get a lot of different things like a redesigned store. You get that new connections application, which is really just a separation from GNOME boxes, getting the two different functionalities into two different applications. They made some substantial improvements to the GNOME cloud. And of course, all the other spins have gotten some updates. We're going to be sticking with GNOME because that is the main desktop environment for Fedora in general. So what are some of the desktop improvements here? You can see that for Fedora 34, they went ahead and switched their primary audio interface to Pipewire. And in this version, they went ahead and added the Pipe Plumber Session Manager. And Pipewire Plumber is going to allow you more customization options with the policy and rules for audio and video. It provides a richer development experience and add bindings for most languages. Now you saw earlier we went ahead and enabled those third-party repositories. Doing that now makes those repositories immediately available, and enabling third-party repositories now makes selected FlatHub applications available via filtered FlatHub remote. So overall, a better access to applications, but chances are if you're actually going to be using Fedora, you're going to go ahead and get the RPM Fusion repositories on there and be able to get basically whatever you want. Additionally, other applications in your system that are moderately important have gotten some updates, such as Python is now on version 3.10, Perl is on 5.34, and PHP is now on 8.0. And we are going to be having the 1.0 release of Firewalled, which is the firewall service that is going to be shipping with Fedora by default. So that was a quick rundown of the Fedora specific changes. Now what we're going to do is actually check out our system. The most obvious thing you're going to notice is there's a new wallpaper. I'm never really a fan of the Fedora wallpapers. I know the Fedora 35 wallpaper was absolutely not a favorite of mine, but this one is at least an improvement over that. And yes, I do know that you're going to change your wallpaper, probably. It's not too important. But one thing that's new is their software center. So we're going to go ahead and browse software. I know some other people who make videos did not enjoy this new categorization in the GNOME Software Center. We have create, work, play, socialize, learn, and develop. And I'm referring to Tom from Switch to Linux. I do recommend you check out his video where he ever so gently discussed the new categorization here.
I have no earthly idea where the hell to find a web browser in this. This is a bunch of childish nonsense.
But if we go to create, for example, you're going to see things like Ardor, Blender, generally applications that you would create with. If we go over to play, this is probably where we're going to be able to get various games, which there are a good amount in here. And learn, work. If I go to work, this is probably going to be access to Geary, email clients, Office stuff. We have Chromium here, Python, some other things. Like some of it's kind of weird, like Chromium is in the work when it should just be in a internet or browsers category. But that's all beside the point. It doesn't really matter too much. Up here we have a very nice banner going over some of the different applications. If we jump in here for the GNU image manipulation program, we can see a very nice description of what the actual program is. Very nice new layout with the download size, if they deem it safe or unsafe, some of the age ratings. We have changelogs here, information on the licensing and project websites, and then of course the ratings, which I would not use personally. And then of course up here we have Fedora. We could switch this to an RPM if you'd like to, however you would like to install your software. So additionally, if we go up here, we have the new connections application. I'm not going to really talk about this too much. I have a whole separate video that goes over both connections and boxes. When I initially talked about GNOME 41, I do recommend you check that out. But again, connections is a remote desktop, well, a remote access tool so you can control other computers with it. And then boxes is their virtualization software. Now, if we just go over to applications and check out all the things they have going on, they have the typical weather, maps, all that stuff. If I open up the system monitor, let's see how it's running. Fedora is generally a much heavier operating system if you're looking for something that's incredibly lightweight and you can install on your old ThinkPad from 2008. Fedora probably is not the best option for you. As you can see, we're using 1.8 gigabytes of RAM. I did have Firefox open, but I have like nothing open at the moment. But if you do have a fairly modern computer with at least like 8 gigabytes of RAM and a decent CPU, Fedora is a fantastic Linux distribution. Let's go back into our applications. There have been some other improvements. I'm definitely not going to be able to hit on all of them, but I know for sure in the calendar application, it's much easier to import events from other applications. Here under utilities, you can see all the different things we have in our system, including that connections application there. I don't think, oh it is, GNOME Boxes is installed. We have the Fedora Media Writer, which is cool because they give you a easy out if you decide you don't like it, so you can make your own USBs. A lot of applications don't include something like that, so it's kind of cool that they do. I'm going to open up the terminal real quick and do a quick neofetch. I highly doubt it's pre-installed. Oh, I typed it wrong anyways. That's one cool thing about Fedora. Their DNF package management system is it actually, if you type a command and it knows that that's a command for a specific application, it's going to recommend you install it. There are some things you are going to want to do. I have a video going over the things to do in Fedora when you first install it. And one of the little tips I do is changing the default suggestion to yes instead of no, which is weird. But here we are running the Linux kernel version 5.13. We have 1748 RPM packages. It doesn't list any flat packages installed by default, so that's pretty cool. Of course, we're running bash that GNOME 41, and all the rest is generally irrelevant. If we jump into our settings, we do have some new things in here. I might not have access to everything. I know there's a setting for phone calls if you have like the proper modem and the proper device and all that to do that through the GNOME desktop environment. Super cool, but I'm pretty sure it needs to hardware detect the proper hardware to actually even show those settings. If I go over to multitasking, there's some cool things here. We have the general, so the hot corner. By default, this goes to the activities preview. This is a virtual machine, so it's kind of hard to do that properly. But you throw the mouse up there, you can enable or disable that. We have the active screen edges, so that's when you drag a window over to go ahead and snap it to the side. Under workspaces, you can set dynamic or fixed. That's like, for example, as you create windows and move them into different workspaces, it continuously adds workspaces and gets rid of them as you close them out. Or you can set it to always have 4 and only have 4. Now this right here is really nice. This was a complaint in older versions of GNOME. For workspaces, you can set it on the primary display only or set workspaces to show up on all the displays. And then down here we have some application switching options, and that's the bulk of the new settings. I know if we go under, I think it's mouse and trackpad, and then go up to test your settings, you have a cute little thing here so you can actually test mouse and trackpad and or touchpad and all that. And then generally most of the settings are just the same as they've been. And for these actual changes in both Fedora 35 and GNOME 41, I'm just scraping the surface. There has been a lot more changes. I'm actually going to link down below to a article on their wiki, which goes over every single change that has been put forward in Fedora 35. Definitely a lot, and we do appreciate the hard work of the Fedora development team. And what else I appreciate is our YouTube members and Patreon supporters. We have Mitchell Valentino, Phil, Matt, Kyle, Timo, Anthony, Chris, Curtis, Sledgehammer. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. And big thank you to all the other Techie and Techie Plus members. If you happen to want to support the channel, you can hit the join button down below or head over to Patreon and do it over there. And if you don't want to do that, simply liking this video, maybe giving a subscribe is more than good enough for me. With all of that said, there'll be download links and all other things I talked about in the description, so make sure you check those out. Have a beautiful day, and goodbye.